Another day, another recap. Today we'll be diving into a sci-fi action movie titled Reign of Fire, and trust me, this is a movie worth watching. The movie kicks off with a young boy by the name of Quinn walking inside a construction site. There, he goes down the escalator and we see a massive mining operation being conducted. Quinn links up with his mother Karen, who asks him if something is wrong. He denies it, but eventually comes clean and hands his mother a letter saying they've rejected his scholarship and must now pay $3,000 a year. Karen's boss then pops up and tells her she's needed. Seems one of the miners has hit a void in his own words, and when Quinn pops up, the miner tells him to have a look inside. Quinn goes through the hole, and it's an underground cave. There seems to be a weird smell as well as weirdly shaped pillars. He begins touching the rocks, looking up at their magnificence, and suddenly a small fire appears from behind. When Quinn realizes it's coming from above, he looks up to find a massive creature which spits something on his face, causing him to run off. He finds his mother, who sees his eyes are blood red and walks away with him. She begins to pour water over his eyes as the other two men explore the cave. Inside they hear heavy breathing, and before you know it, a massive fire erupts through the entire level as Quinn and his mother board the escalator. But out of nowhere, a massive dragon appears and bites the cage. It immediately takes off and Quinn notices his mother is still and quiet. After a few attempts of trying to wake her up, he knows that she's not coming back. The next 16 years are then shown by Quinn giving an explanation into what the world has become. A feeding ground from the emergence of the dragons. Even with the military powers of the world, the fire and destruction of the dragons prevailed, causing humanity to be on its dying breath. Quinn, now much older, works at a safe house that he leads located inside a castle in England. The scene cuts to Quinn mining with some of his team. A man then barges in and tells him that Eddie's gone psycho. With this news, he makes his way out and goes sprinting across a castle that these men have turned into their new abode. Even the dragon lookout Barlow spots Quinn running until he eventually arrives to see Eddie and a few men wanting to head out to harvest the fruits they've made. Quinn says they're only half ripe, and if they take them now there will be nothing for the following season. Eddie reckons at the rate they're headed, there won't be another season, especially as other safe houses around them have all died out. A man named Creedy then interjects, elaborating that if Eddie walks out the gates, he can stay there. With that, Quinn takes the keys and walks away, only for us to discover Creedy and Quinn are quite good friends. As there is no more TV and movies, and unfortunately no more movies outpost in this dragon-infested world, the comedic duo decides to act Star Wars in front of all the children they've saved. The kids especially enjoy this scene.
I am your father.
The children applaud the duo, who take the credit for writing the plays they acted even though they did not. The children then say an oath that Quinn has created, making sure that they know when a dragon is in sight, to do nothing but run and hide. Later into the night, it seems Eddie and his men have stolen the keys for the vehicle and stealthily leave the castle. But soon enough, even Quinn wakes up to find some very heavy winds outside, even causing a child to run up to sleep in his room. As dawn breaks, the lookout realizes his bird is going haywire. He starts looking in the distance, and the scene jumps to Eddie and his band of misfits arriving at the harvest. Simultaneously, Barlow spots something in the distance and alerts Quinn right away. An alarm starts ringing, and everyone begins running towards an underground bunker. Quinn is alerted that Eddie and a few men have taken off, and they quickly regret that decision as they hear the sounding alarms. They begin sprinting back to the vehicle, and here comes the appetizer for the dragon. The other men continue running, and Eddie asks where his son is, only to discover he was the dragon's first victim. The dragon, though, smartly enough, burns Eddie's vehicle. They run the other way, but stand no chance as the dragon sets the entire harvest ablaze and traps the crew right in the middle. As the fire draws nearer and nearer, a heavily armored man steps through the fire, and they water down the blaze to allow Eddie and his crew to get into two vehicles. Quinn reveals himself, and the two armored trucks equipped with powerful water hoses take off, only to be met by the dragon, which shoots fire onto the lead vehicle, killing another one of Eddie's sons. Both vehicles begin to reverse their trucks until they are out of harm's way. Turns out the dragon just wanted to cause destruction to the harvest and doesn't really care about the humans. That night, Creedy and Quinn sit together, and Quinn can't help but feel sorry for Eddie losing his kids to the dragon. Creedy pretty much says he deserves it, as he didn't listen, and on top of that destroyed their crops, endangering their community. Elsewhere in the building, the radio man EJ intercepts a call and immediately alerts the lookout. Barlow spots approaching tanks and once again rings the alarm. All available men then lock and load, getting ready for a full frontal assault. They climb to the top of the wall and aim their guns at what they are presuming to be marauders. But the multiple tanks stop in their tracks, and a Viking-looking man named Denton Van Zandt pops out and wishes to speak to the leader of the community. Quinn immediately walks out towards the man and asks him why he has come. Van Zandt elaborates that he has rebuilt the National Guard and flown from America down to England. Quinn doesn't buy it, as he says the air is Dragon's territory and hasn't been used in 20 years. Van Zandt disagrees, even showing off the dragons he killed by showing the tooth he carries around him as a trophy. But all he wants from Quinn is a place to rest for the day, and Quinn does not buy that this man is a dragon killer. But nonetheless, Quinn is offered to either let them inside, or they'll force themselves inside. Taking the safer approach, Quinn opens the gate. The tanks come rolling in one by one, and the villagers look at them in amazement. Creedy is a bit confused why Quinn let them in, but Quinn says that Van Zandt is a dragon slayer, to which Creedy laughs. Just then, a chopper comes flying in, and now Creedy and Quinn believe this group isn't joking around. When the chopper finally lands, out comes their pilot, a woman by the name of Alex Jensen. She introduces herself to the group and explains that the men behind her have a life expectancy of 17 seconds when they jump out of the chopper, and you'll see why later. Quinn tells Creedy he wants guards on shifts keeping an eye on their guests for the night. A couple hours later, Quinn speaks to Jensen inside the kitchen. He says a couple stories of how he rescued some of the children in his community and then tries to probe her as to exactly why they have come. She tells him to speak to Van Zandt, and simultaneously Barlow's bird starts screaming. Everyone around knows it's time to kill a dragon. Van Zandt sends 3 men to place some triangulators and sends Jensen in the air with a few men. They all take off, and Quinn watches this in astonishment. On the radio, Jensen tells Van Zandt she can't see anything. He alerts her to wait until the triangulators are up. With that, Vertical 1 goes up and is quickly followed by Vertical 2. The men in the chopper appoint one of them as bait and the other 2 as gunners. The dragon then pops out behind Jensen, and she is forced to try and outmaneuver it. Van Zandt is stressed about the third vertical so they can have 3D mapping of the area, and as the man is about to place it, he is killed by the dragon. Quinn's radio man hears this and alerts Quinn to the situation. With that, he jumps on his horse and puts the triangulator into position, which grabs visual of the area. The chopper is hit by the dragon, which causes the bait to fall. The 2 gunners proceed to jump out as well, while the bait goes flying through the air and the dragon behind him. Jensen alerts the gunners that the dragon is directly in front of their position, but they don't see anything. They instead decide to shoot their nets directly in front, and it hits the dragon's wings. The gunners activate their wingsuits, but the nets shoot past them. The bait alerts his gunners to the approaching dragon, who shoots a fireball at him but misses. With this distraction though, he doesn't activate his wingsuit and smacks the ground at full pelt. The dragon isn't finished yet. It chomps one of the gunners as the last one is fortunate enough to open his parachute. Quinn then jumps onto the radio, and Van Zandt tells him get ready to ride. He says the dragon will be on him in 30 seconds, so get on his horse, lure the dragon to his tank. Without many options, Quinn jumps on his horse and rides with the dragon quickly approaching. Van Zandt watches, and when the moment is right, he shoots his shot and gets a perfect hit, causing the dragon to catapult into the ground and die. Now at least Quinn knows he isn't talking smack about being a dragon killer. That night, everyone parties, knowing that killing a dragon is no easy accomplishment. Even Quinn receives a hero's welcome. But when Van Zandt enters and receives a cheer, he tells them he has nothing but disgust for them, that losing even a single man is too much. He says this with tears in his eyes and walks away. Later, Quinn finds Van Zandt alone and confronts him on his true objective for being in England. They take the conversation inside, and both Van Zandt and Jensen get straight to the point, saying that of all the dragons they have killed, every single one of them was female. They have also figured out there is only one male dragon, and when the females spawn their eggs, he passes over and fertilizes thousands. Van Zandt has pinpointed its location and says he's going to end all the dragons by killing just one. The following day, Van Zandt gives a lecture to the community members to help him eradicate the dragons. Only 4 people decide to help, and with that response, he orders his men to find the strongest 6 men and grab them. Quinn comes running in and smacks Van Zandt. The 2 of them get into a brutal fight, but as expected, Van Zandt proves too much and must be held back from killing Quinn. He and his soldiers then walk away, and Jensen hands Quinn a bottle for his injuries and leaves him be. He makes his way inside to attend to his injuries and spots one of his young boys trying to head off to battle. Quinn says he wanted Jared to lead the community one day, but as he cannot convince the boy otherwise, he lets him go. The soldiers all head off, ready for what seems to be humanity's last stand against the monstrous beasts. Quinn goes to see if there's anything left at the harvest and spots Jared there, who changed his mind about going with the soldiers. Quinn gives him a hug and they head back to the castle. At night, Quinn makes his way to the dead dragon and walks inside it. There he finds an egg and knows that Van Zandt was telling the truth. The soldiers, meanwhile, are trapped before they could go in the heart of London. Van Zandt orders Jensen to find a way around the blockade and jumps off his tank. A massive fire is seen in the distance, and the dragon knows that Van Zandt and his crew are approaching. He tells his men to get into their battle stations and sees something shooting past them. He knows the dragon is toying around with them as it just flies around. They finally spot the creature, and Van Zan shoots and falls over as the beast blasts its continuous fire and tears the entire army into nothing but ash. Almost instantly, Quinn's horse starts going wild, and Jensen sees almost everyone dead. The last man standing is Van Zan, who cannot believe the lives he just lost. Now things get really serious. The dragon heads to the castle and shoots flames at it. Quinn sees this from a distance and rides as the people inside all run for their underground bunker. Creedy tries his best to do what he can, and Quinn arrives to see the castle in flames. The dragon flies off and Quinn runs inside to grab a few children and run to the bunker. The dragon returns once more, and Creedy goes to rescue a few more people. But the dragon launches its final attack, and the fire instantly kills Creedy and seals the door shut for the bunker. Quinn slams at it, but it won't budge. The group stay in the bunker for a couple of hours, only to hear the door moving. It is open to find Van Zan and Jensen there. The community walk outside to see their once home turn to rubble. Quinn approaches Van Zan and tells him he knows where the creature lives. He also wants to end this once and for all, but before he leaves, he appoints Jared as the leader, as he knows he might not make it. Within minutes, the trio fly towards the city, and Quinn tells them where to land. They get out of the chopper and climb a flight of stairs only to see a tremendous sight. There is many, and I mean many dragons on the rooftops that for some reason did not want to attack the group. But as the trio speak, the Big Daddy comes, and wow. It starts eating the other dragons, and its size puts them to waste. It doesn't approach the trio, and when it leaves, they decide to go inside the city. The dragon spots them entering the underground tunnels, and the trio make their way towards the Big Daddy's cave and use flares as light. Van Zan stops the group and pulls out some highly volatile explosive heads to shoot with a crossbow. He tells them that the only way to kill the dragon is if it exposes its chest, and it will only do that when it breathes fire. He wants to bring the dragon to ground level, and they make their way up the shaft when Quinn stops to see the cage where his mother was killed. Van Zan tells him to use that rage, and the trio make their way into their positions. The dragon does laps around them and they all sprint to where they need to be. Quinn, though, gets a little close for comfort and has unfortunately dropped his arrow on the ground. Van Zan climbs as high as he can, and when he reaches the top, he yells as loud as he can. He aims the crossbow at the dragon and takes a shot at the beast. He injures it a touch, and when the dragon approaches him, he jumps from the ledge to strike the beast but is eaten. Jensen gets injured and Quinn takes her to cover. The dragon begins spitting fire around them, and Quinn goes face to face as he fires shots from his rifle. It chases him, and he hides for cover again. But now he spots the arrow for his crossbow and retrieves it as the dragon sees him. He loads the arrow and begins screaming at the beast. It shoots a small fireball which he dodges, and when he approaches again, he waits for the perfect moment and fires. He completely kills the dragon, and Jensen walks up to him, saying he is a true dragon slayer. The duo head back to their little community, and life gets much better for them when they haven't spotted a single dragon in 3 months. It seems Jared is running the show now, and Quinn couldn't be happier. Jensen says she can't believe Quinn is showing some optimism, and with that the movie comes to an end. If you enjoy bangers like this, make sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.